Okay, certainly been a while and more than happy and glad to be back. For anyone watching this on replay, welcome to World Series News. We play out on Facebook and YouTube is no end of grief these days in finding something that they make unappealable that they can use to give you another strike. So the days of YouTube are definitely numbered. I'll upload this video later on also to Rumble, where of course Rumble's now gone public and is attracting massive viewership. So very soon, Rumble might supersede the old YouTube. I wanted to talk to you about some of the work I'm doing, and then I want to tell you something very important, which is all about the war that's going on right now. First of all, I've been moving from World Series News over to the radio space, where I've picked up I've been there now since the beginning of the year at TNT Radio. My show's gone from the weekend to weekdays, which I'm quite proud of, and is now 2 hours every night at Sydney time of 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Monday to Friday. The lists of guests that are coming on the program, quite incredible. I never thought when I got into this a couple of years ago that I would be speaking to the types of people that I'm speaking to on a daily basis now. I've got regular people on the show. Campbell Newman, former Premier of Queensland, is now a monthly regular on the show, along with some other high-profile guests that used to be on other shows such as Sky News. Ross Cameron's another one. We've also got lots of activists such as Michael Sims, who's coming on regularly now. He'll be on this Friday. Mac from Reclaim the Line, also the Australian AVN. Nadine Sisterson is another regular on the show. And we also have people like Peter Richards, retired military regulars on the show. George Christensen, Senator Gerard Rennick, Senator Ralph Babette are all people who have been on the show. So I'm quite proud of that this is how far we're coming, and we're all working together to work out how we get out of this mess. One of the great things about the radio, of course, is that it's regular. It's on every night, and rain, hail, or shine, you've got to produce, and you've got to do it live. Part of the problem with doing news, as I was doing it on World Series News, is just the amount of time it takes to present a quality, digestible program, as short as possible in duration, so it gets the most viewership and at the same time takes up the least amount of time for other people. The radio is different because you can put the app on your phone, you can play it through the Bluetooth, and you can listen to it at home or via YouTube or other methods, or even in the car via Bluetooth, which is where you really get to sink your teeth into it. And it's not just my show. There's 20 odd presenters now on the channel, including some ex-WikiLeaks people such as Patrick Heddingson, whose show runs around midnight most nights of the week because he comes from the United States, and it is just brilliant. If you get a chance to listen to Patrick, he's as good as anyone in the world. We have news on the hour, news on the half hour, and George Eliasson, who is living in the Donbass region of Ukraine, is one of our correspondents. He has a show on the weekend and has been on my program as well. Extraordinary what these people know. Steve Malzberg used to fill in for Joe Scarborough, would you believe it, on MSNBC Morning Joe show some 20 odd years ago. He had the other day filling in on his show, if you can believe that, Joe Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, one of the two founders of that publication, filling in on TNT Radio for one of our presenters, Steve Malzberg. And that's just not it. But check it out, tntradio.live. Now, what I want to do as part of my World Series News show is to continually bring updates and obviously invite you across to listen to radio. But the idea is we're trying to get as much information as we can out there into the main. How it is that we break through, goodness me, who knows how we're going to break through in the end. But it feels like right now that the activities going on with the war in Russia are just going endlessly in a direction of provocation. Putin has been attacked with the Crimean Bridge, of course, over the weekend, and now more bridges have been attacked along yet another border. And so this is clearly a demonstration of attack with NATO nations encroaching now on Russia, deliberately trying to start this war. That's where we are at the moment. And Putin is showing all signs of restraint in this. Where it goes, we don't know, but all of us are very nervous about what we're seeing. But it's very, very real. But I want to make this point. And it's for you who are watching this are all part of the big picture, because you who are watching this right now and watching this on replay are the ones who've worked it out. What we haven't worked out is where the end game is, and if we actually get to survive it and actually get to see the good new world and not the new world order that they're bringing towards us. So it would be, in fact, the fish that John West rejected who would form a group by necessity that would become the resistance that would eventually lead the way to dismantle the establishment. These are the people who are intelligent enough to work out the establishment's big picture, plans to corral the human herd, all of which is revealed in plain sight, but overlooked by the majority of people living a mainstream life because it contradicts everything they know and trust. The rejects are told that they are not good enough to join the system earlier in life, when that would have interested them. To be overlooked for promotion, or to not get that good occupation to begin with, it meant that life took a curve and a long way around. For some, it would be missing out on the desired qualification, not being able to get that qualification in the first place, or not getting the right job or promotion. These are the components of one's working life that make life comfortable, to feel like one's life is well lived. It's when you have this life that you feel along with the system that puts you there because it keeps you there. The establishment maintains itself by design. He who makes the rules wins first. The first rule is to maintain power, to make the rules, isn't it? Not just the rule making, but the rule makers for the system itself. This is where all corruption commences. The moment the rule maker decides to stay on or is encouraged to do so. Go along to get along. That is why compromise is useful. A club with perks and duties and rewards. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. If you like the food, you devote yourself to it. The system creates its very own carrot and stick loyalty. Even then, for the system to be fully insulated, it must have insurance for someone who breaks ranks. Lose loyalty. If you make the rules and control the rules and apply discretionary power, you never need to have a case to answer, do you, Hunter? The system will protect you, or at least the system of favours that operates within it. At first, the trick was simple. Deflect. Keep deflecting on a macro level. Make information classified. Designate certain information national security. Make secrecy itself acceptable. Extend the term national security as far as you like. Divert. Make people do what you want. JFK said the very idea of a secret society is repugnant. The best politicians are narcissists. Everything was planned for, and many want to play or try their hand. Participate, become a player. Ego and narcissism are prerequisites in the game of rulemaking. The very best politicians are certifiable. Their ability to survive like Biden is incomprehensible in any other industry, considering the baggage he carries. Not that he is a great politician, but he is a great survivor in the rulemaking business. A total fraud. We know that. We have the evidence. We know all the stories, all that ritualistic shit. So they buy up their landscape. Their capital buys human capital, keeping them busy and dependent, so it buys their loyalty. For those included in the process of rulemaking, it becomes their family, who they serve before anyone else. Then it buys their souls. So, what is family? What happens when yours becomes dysfunctional? How many families can say that they are not dysfunctional these days? Yet the loyalty of any individual is decided by whom they side with. Do they side with their immediate family or their vocational family? Where do they derive their success? Also, within self is the notion of being self-contained. That used to be the family. The family unit could then be wrapped up in another form of impenetrable insulation, like a religion or a place of worship within the community where the word of God is considered the highest word there is, regardless of society's own rules. It creates a separation from the overbearing government rules because no matter what, The government has no place behind one's own front door. And I'm not talking about deviant behavior, I'm talking about sovereignty. But in this era of now, the world is indeed changing. And your family is the state. You actually have to fight now if you want to avoid that. COVID isolation rules were the first actual example since the starting pistol was sounded. The race is on. There is no going back. The trans agenda is a bridge way too far. It is far from innocent and force feeds sexual development compulsorily against all accepted cultural mores apart from exception, and then attempts to ram these exceptions into the mainstream right down our throats, with no time for discussion, reflection, or debate. It is designed to divide us as families. Intolerance is automatically cancelled in the mainstream. That's why those who were vaccine hesitant were discriminated against openly, despite all denials in society, despite the promises from ScoMo. There are no mandates in this country. The opposite was true, wasn't it? Vaccine passports, QR coding, segregation, for heaven's sake, for a virus that kills 1 in 700 in Australia and 1 in 35,000 if you're under 30. Only those who can see it do. Only those who want to look will find it. But I'm betting the breakthrough will be when people value their families higher than the government. The government will ask and tell you, and you have to make that decision. They have already, and they keep doing it. Government is not God. It is not your savior, and the government is certainly not your friend. The government is your administrator. That's right. You are its equity and liability. You have a number. Soon, if they get their way, a digital ID, a social credit score, and a tracking device, microchipped and medicated. That's the government. Build your family. Self-contain it. The family. Value it. The higher you value it, the easier you will see it. If you're average, you get 80 years at birth. That's life expectancy. If you're a believer, you turn into something else after for all eternity. This life is fading into obscurity when you apply that perspective. If you're a non-believer, you also get 80 years, but that's it. Switched off like your laptop, an inanimate object, once capable of creation, and now just the same as the object built to replace us, the AI computer. So if you can breed out the undesirables and replace the useful ones with computers, you can remain the chosen ones. That's if you believe you are God himself. But the government is not God, is it? They just think they are. That is globalization, the takeover of God, the commoditization of people, and the end of your sovereignty. That's what this war is all about. Are you a human being or are you a herd animal? Do you get to think for yourself or do you have to think like everyone else? That's what this is about. Nothing more and nothing else. The rest is theatre and all the world is a stage. I'd be delighted if you would join me weeknights from 6 p.m. on my show at www.tntradio.live. My show is called Jason Q, Citizen and Friends, and I'll try to bring updates on World Series news when I can. A lot of work to go into these shows, well worth the effort. I love doing them. It's just the time to get there. And if you get a chance, I'd really appreciate you sharing this information because that's the only way it gets seen. Facebook is doing their darndest to take me down, and so is YouTube for simply sharing the facts. The facts that we are just simply ahead of the curve. And as I'll report on TNT Radio, where censorship is not an issue, I'm going to present some facts tonight, all the way from Florida's own Surgeon General, that proves everything we said on this channel was true and the fact checkers were wrong. I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you on the next one.